Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, now we are going to get introduced to the control statements. Now that we have understood about the print function, the single quote, double quotes, right? So we have just used one line of code till now, but now we are going to get introduced to the control statements and why do we require them. So in any programming language, what happens is be it Python, C, C++, or Java, the flow of execution happens from top to bottom, right? So basically, what are control statements is what we're going to understand. The control statement, okay? These control statements. And as I said, suppose there are 4 or 5 lines of code, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just assume that these are line of codes. And as I told you that the flow of execution happens from top to bottom. So the first line will get executed first, then the second line, then the third, then the fourth. This is how it happens. So line by line, from top to bottom, the execution starts. Now, what happens is, suppose we want to control that execution, the flow that is happening, we can control that depending on some condition. Maybe, say, at the line number 2, there will be certain condition on this line, on the second line. Okay, there will be certain condition. Depending on that condition, okay, line 3 might get executed or line 4 might get executed. Or the reverse of it is like the other way is line 3 might get skipped or line 4 might get skipped. Okay, so either one of them is going to happen. So we can control that execution. If you don't want certain line of code not to get executed depending on certain condition or should get executed, all depending on that condition, right? Then that we can do it using the control statements. So basically there will be 2 types of control statements, and the statements are, the first one is the conditional statement, and I just spoke about this, right? There will be certain condition. So conditional statement it is called as. And the second what we have is the loops, right? And under the loops we will be having the for and the while loop. So the first what we are going to look at in this video is a bit of introduction, and we are going to talk more about that in the upcoming video, is about the conditional statement. Now, what is a conditional statement? So the conditional statement is, okay, we will be giving a condition, and depending on that condition, certain line of code will get executed. For example, like we have a value n, right? And I'm going to take that as an integer. So I'm going to use that int, and then I will be using that input. Now, if you are not aware of it, okay, so I will just explain this, what this is, okay? And I will say enter a number. Okay, now what exactly is this? Now, to take some input from the user, we use that input function. Now this is another function for taking the input from the user. So there will be a message, so you can give a message over here like enter a number, any message. That message will be displayed on the screen and you will be taking the input, right? But please understand that whatever this input function takes, it takes in the form of string. So we need to convert that into a number because we want a number. Okay, so as we do the coding, I will explain more about it. So this basically, it just accepts a number from the user, a integer number, and then we want to check whether this number is even or odd. A very, very simple program, everywhere you can find it. Okay, so how to do that? So we have a keyword, and that keyword is the if keyword. So if is a keyword, it's a reserved word. If, and then I will be giving some condition over here, and I have to give a space, and then the condition something like n mod 2, and then I'll be using that relational operator equal to. So this is going to compare. So I'll be dividing n by 2, taking the remainder. So mod operator, what it does, it divides the number and takes the remainder. So I will divide any number by 2, and if the remainder comes as 0, what does that mean? That means that number is a even number, and then followed by this colon. So what is the format? The format is the if keyword, then there is a condition, and then at the end you have to give this colon. Okay, this is a keyword. Understand the condition and then the colon at the end. Now, since we are going to get we are getting introduced to the control statement, there is one more thing that we are going to learn today, and that is called as the indentation. And this is very, very important in Python, the concept of indentation. I'm just going to talk about this in a while. So what happens over here, the moment you give colon and you will press the enter key, okay, then what happens automatically, there will be a tap space that will be taken. So the cursor, in spite of blinking over here or coming over here, it will come somewhere over here. This is what is going to happen. And why this happens is, if I just draw a line, so it will come over here. So it will take a tab space. Now, why it has taken the tab space is because of that indentation. Now, please understand that languages like C, C++, Java, everything, there is a, if you want to define something, a block of code, it comes under the curly brackets. So if you have worked with C or C++ or Java, so there is everything is under the curly bracket. The loops have curly bracket, and inside that curly bracket you write your entire block of code. So that block of code belongs to that, inside that curly bracket. So it belongs to the loop, it belongs to the if statement. That is how it is. But in Python, we do not have anything as such. We do not have the brackets, we do not have the curly brackets. Everything is through indentation. So what happens over here, if you type anything over here, I type maybe 4 line of code exactly at that tab space, right? This is the space that is taken. So that is indentation. Okay, and whatever you type over here will come inside this if statement. Okay, so I'll just move this and I will write the whole thing again. So what we are going to do now, we are going to, as I said, we have taken an input, right? I'm not going to write that again. Int input from the user, and then I'm using that if condition is n mod 2 if it is equal to 0, followed by that colon. This colon is very important. If you don't give, there will be a syntax error. That's the syntax you have to follow. And then there is an indentation. I will simply print that the number is even, simple message, and that's it. Okay, and then I can always check again if n mod 2 if it is equal to, okay, this time it is 1. If it is 1, what does that mean? Followed by that colon, I will print, what will I print? I will print number is odd. If the remainder is, double quotes, number is odd, right? Now, this is an indentation. This is an indentation, which means this line comes under this condition. Okay, that's the indentation. Now, as you can see, we are doing this checking twice. We are checking over here, then printing, then we are checking over here, then we are printing, right? This is a repetition of code. And so in along with the if statement, we have the else part as well. And the else part is something like this. I'll just show you to show the same code we can write in a very simple way, that is like this. So I can simply write if and mod 2 if it is equal to 0 followed by that colon, then I'm going to print the message. I will just simply print even. Okay, and then you can see that line over here. This is the line. Now I need to do this, and there is else part. Now please understand this else part exactly comes with the line. It should be aligned with that if. Okay, so this is the else part followed with colon, and then I can give print. I will give over here or. Okay, so you can see this is an indentation, that is a tab space. this is an indentation, that is a tab space. So if the condition is true, if I divide n by 2 and the remainder is 0, it will print that the number is even or even, right? Just a message even. And else, what is going to happen? It will print or. So what is happening over here? We are controlling the flow of execution depending on the condition. So if the condition becomes true, so this is going to generate a Boolean value true, then it is going to print even. If the condition is false, then this line is going to get skipped, and then this line, the else part, will get executed, then it is going to print or. So this is the control statement. So we are actually controlling the flow of execution depending on certain condition. Either a statement will is going to get skipped or it is going to get executed. Okay, and again I repeat, since now we have got introduced to the control statements, the concept of indentation should be very much clear to you. Okay, so let us just very quickly execute this program, and I will switch to the next, to the VS Code, and here it is. And now what we're going to do is, first is we're going to take an import, that is n. So please understand, you have to type it from here. You cannot give a space and then start typing like in other programming languages. There will be an indentation error. The first line, that is the main program, will start from the extreme line, left, I mean to say, and there shouldn't be any space. So n is equal to int and then input. That's the input function for taking the input, but it takes everything in form of a string. So we convert that into an integer. We will see that in the upcoming videos. Enter a number. That's the message that I'm giving, and that's it. And then I press enter. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the if statement. If, which is a keyword. As you can see, the color, that is a keyword. Okay, it will, every keyword will have the same color. Understand it. And mod 2 equal to 0 followed by the colon. And as you can see, the moment I press enter, there is a tab space, right? So I will type over here, print the number is even, right? And then I again press enter. Again, it is going to take the same line, but now I want to come outside that indentation. How I'm going to do that? I'm just going to press the backspace. Just press the backspace and you're out, right? Now you're outside the if statement. Then now over here, I'm going to type the else part, else, and now that new indentation started with the else part. So the number is, or this is the message that I'm printing, right? So you can see that code over here. Now, if you give even a single space over here like this, so the indentation goes wrong. And if you try to, okay, over here, this editor is taking, but that line has to be same line. Okay. So if it, as you can see, this has given me that error. Okay. Just a minute. Let me just go over here. And now let me just run this. Okay. And yeah, it is taking, just a minute over here. The number is odd. Let me clear the screen, and now I'm going to run this. So it gave me the indentation error over here. Okay. So please understand that this is the alignment. As you can see that, this indentation, there are four spaces, that is one tab space that has to be perfect. So this defines that this particular line comes under the if statement. Now I'm going to run this. So you can see enter a number. So what happens over here? This statement, that is the input statement, is going to wait for the user to give some input, and it is going to print that message, whatever message we have typed over here, right? So now I'm going to give a number 4. So 4, obviously it's an even number, and now you can see that it has given me the output. The number is even. Similarly, if I run this again, and this time I give 7, so this is going to give me the output that the number is odd. So what happened over here? That this statement got skipped. Okay. So this is about the first control statement that we have understood today. That is the if statement. If and else. So if the condition is true, do something, execute a block of code. If the condition is false, execute the else part. This is what it means. And most important, now that we got introduced to the control statement, is the indentation part, which many of them get confused with the indentation, because in other programming language we have the curly brackets, but over here it's indentation. It just takes a bit of practice and it's very easy to understand. So I hope you have understood everything in this video. So in the next video we're going to talk further about the control statements. Thank you so much.